What's up guys, it's me Charlie, and today I'll be doing a review on the upcoming Spotlight Raccoon Groot. Okay, and before I go into that, let's talk about the other two Spotlight cards first, the returning Spotlights. Selene, we begin with Selene. I know that a lot of people hate Selene, a lot of people think that Selene is a bad card, it's a F tier card. Okay, now I'm not saying that you should open the Spotlights for Selene, but I would like to defend Selene. I do think that a Goblins deck is actually pretty viable right now in the meta. I used a Goblins deck to complete my Deadpool's Diner last season. I used a Goblins deck to climb either into the mid 80s or high 80s or even into 93, I forgot, okay, this season. I'll be putting the deck list for my Goblins deck in the description. Alright, but basically, I feel that Gorr has revived the concept of a Goblins deck. Alright, because, with a Goblins deck, you're playing Ravonna, and, with Ravonna, it also benefits Gorr in that sense. And I do think that Selene comes in pretty huge in a Goblin deck, obviously. Okay, there's a big difference between throwing over a 3/3 green Goblin and a 3/6 green Goblin, right? And in terms of affecting your opponent, it is also very, very big, right? We see a lot of Iron Man, so Selene can, just take out an Iron Man. If you're talking about current meta relevance, we have decks running Brood Mother, alright, pairing up with Collector, and if Selene were to hit Brood Mother, it's huge, man. It's huge. Alright, hitting a Brood Mother turns them into a -1, and even with Collector, you're just getting your base Brood Mother, and that's all. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Selene should decide that you should open this week's Spotlight, because no Series 4 card should be given that treatment. Alright, no matter how good they are, because at the end of the day, Series 4 cards are cards that you can acquire with 3,000 tokens. Okay, so they are not exactly that valuable in a sense, but rather you should be looking at Series 4 cards as, is this card so terrible, is this card so bad that, if I land on this Series 4 card, I'll feel upset. Well, personally, I don't think you should feel upset if you land on Selene. She has a very, to me, it's a very interesting, I do like Clock, I do like Toxic, I do like, throwing over Goblins and things like that. And Selene actually makes a Goblins deck, a double Goblins deck, pretty devastating. Okay, absolutely devastating in the right situation. For example, you are able to hit your Goblin, either one is fine, -6, -11, both are huge, and you hit their Iron Man, it's absolutely crushing. It is absolutely crushing in these circumstances. Okay, so if you do land on Selene, I don't think it's a bad thing. I do think that you can explore the Goblins deck. Did I mention I'll be putting my deck in the description? Okay, so yeah, it can be very fun, honestly. Right, I don't think Selene is as bad a card as what many people believe. She's just a very, very niche card that she's just a niche card for a niche archetype that hasn't seen much play for a long time. But with Gorr, I actually feel that it's revitalized, just that a lot of people don't really seem to care about it. Now we move on to the other card, Blob. Like Selene, I think that Blob is a very niche card. He features only in Thanos and Arishem. He is strong in Thanos and Arishem for sure. Okay, he's able to have a very decent, very strong power output, in fact. Alright, and yeah, that's about it. I mean, Blob is just there for the power output, and he's fantastic in Thanos and Arishem decks. But again, that's about it. Nobody will be running Blob in other decks. I mean, you don't want to destroy your own deck, and yeah. So most of the time, you only see Blob in Thanos and Arishem, and yeah, that's about it. You see, that's the only thing that I have to say about Blob. And so if you are really into Thanos, into Arishem, you want to run out your perfect Thanos Arishem decks, then Blob will be an inclination for you to, open for this week. But otherwise, yeah, you just have to see how much you love this niche, how much you love playing Thanos and Arishem. Now, let's go into the actual card, Rocket and Groot himself. Rocket and Groot 3/3, you can move this once. After your opponent plays a card here, steal 1 power from it. Now, I think there's a lot of potential for this card. Okay, there is a lot of potential for this card. Having the ability to move is always a huge thing in Marvel's deck. Okay, we have seen Jeff, you know, being around in the meta for a long time. For the longest time, Jeff has been considered the best 2-cost card, and even though he's not considered the best 2-cost card at the moment, right now you'll still see a lot of people, you know, defaulting to Jeff if they have a free slot in that sense. Now, but then again, we need to take a look at Nocturne. Okay, basically Nocturne has fallen off the meta with just a 1 power nerf. Okay, and very interestingly, if you were to look at Rocket and Groot's total power is also a 3/5. Right? You can move this one after your opponent plays a card here, steal 1 power from it. Okay, so it is very interesting because this is a stealing power, so it's essentially a 2 power swing. It can be even more if it hits an Iron Man. Alright, so it is a 3/5, so it closely resembles both Jeff and Nocturne. Right, it can move but it won't change the location. So obviously it won't do things like turn off Limbo, turn off Storm and things like that. So the downside is that Rocket and Groot doesn't have location control. But like Jeff, he's able to move around and, you know, do some affliction, which is very, very interesting because if let's say, like what I mentioned, if you manage to hit an Iron Man, it can be huge. Okay, yeah, sorry, it's not exactly huge, but it's actually can be big. The impact can be bigger than what you'll be expecting. You see, but here's the thing: Nocturne at 3/4 has fallen completely off the meta, even though Nocturne can change location, and Nocturne has been wildly popular. Has been, you know, the default 3-cost card for a very long time. Okay, but with just 1 power reduction, she's gone. Okay, and I'm just a little bit curious as to what will actually happen because Rocket and Groot is essentially a mix and match between Jeff and Nocturne. Can move, has the power of the old Nocturne, but unable to change location. Alright, I think on paper, Rocket and Groot looks pretty good. Right, because, you know, in terms of power, he's back to a 3/5, which was the old Nocturne, and the old Nocturne was very, very popular. But he doesn't turn off locations, he doesn't change locations, which was a huge reason why Nocturne was played. Okay, so essentially, Rocket, Raccoon and Groot is just a much stronger Jeff, if you were to ask me. But the downside is it also costs 1 energy more, and we know that the 3-cost cards, it's already filled with a lot of strong cards. Okay, and for other decks that you know, other decks that for other decks, right, for the 3-cost card slot, typically you are trying to do things. You're trying to get your combo running. Okay, for example, in a Bruce Banner deck, the Bruce Banner deck that I'm running now, alright, I'm trying to do magic. I'm trying to get magic. Okay, I'm trying to play magic so that, you know, I have a turn 7. Okay, and then let's say since we have just gotten Elsa, a free Elsa variant, if you're playing a Elsa deck, you will want to play Elsa, obviously. You are playing, let's say you're playing a Doom deck. Okay, on turn 3, hopefully you will have already, you know, you have Zabu or Psylocke your Doom, and you want to play it out. Otherwise, you're looking to play your Storm, War Machine, your Captain Marvel. So you have very specific play lines out there. In an Asgard deck, you'll want to play Thor, okay? Or, you know, hopefully, you know, or, you know, if you're playing Asgard with Psylocke, you want to have Cheetah, your Beta Ray build, stuff like that. Okay, and so that is the problem of Rocket and Groot. It's pretty difficult to fit him into, you know, any deck. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing, because competition is so stiff right now. Competition is just so stiff right now. I can't really think of a deck that will be okay with, okay, let's put in Rocket and Groot as a utility 3 cost. I mean, what exactly are you going to give up? Alright, this is exactly the same thing when Copycat came out. A lot of people saying, okay, I'm just going to throw in Copycat. And over time, we have seen Copycat, being eliminated, being displaced by other cards that not necessarily better, but basically have a synergy with the deck that is being run. So honestly, I think that is the problem with Rocket and Groot. The 3 cost is a very, very competitive cost. Is a very competitive slot, and at this turn 3, you really want to be running your combo out already. So in terms of utility cards, I don't think it's a very, very nice slot. Decks that could feature Rocket and Groot from day one, I'm guessing Surfer. Okay, because after all, the old Nocturne, was mainstay in Surfer decks for a long time. Alright, and so you can see that Rocket and Groot returning to that. But the difference is that, well, like what I said, it doesn't turn off location. It doesn't turn off location. So yeah, it can be, it can be a lot less effective in that sense, right? And in terms of power output, Rocket and Groot being a 3/5 in that sense, effectively a 3/5 is not exactly a huge deal for Surfer decks. I mean, if we are just looking at pure power output, there's a lot of other things that can, come into place. Even speed. Alright, even speed, because even if you miss turn 1, turn 2, if you fill out 3, 4, 5, 6 very nicely, speed is 3/6. Speed is a 3/6. Okay? And that ages out Rocket, Raccoon, and Groot. Right? So yeah, to me, I think that Rocket, Raccoon, and Groot has a ability that looks good on paper, but if we were to look at it in terms of what has happened to the meta over time, I am not so sure if Rocket and Groot can actually hold a place. Alright, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure if Rocket, Raccoon, and Groot can actually hold a place in this current meta. And if you were to ask me, schedule-wise, it seems to point that second dinner is looking, this week is just kind of like a filler kind of week. Alright, it's the last week of the season. We'll just, because look, Doom obviously is a wildly popular card. They want Doom to be a high point in that sense, for sure. Alright, although a lot of people are very negative on Bruce Banner, I believe second dealer did not expected this. Alright, I don't think they deliberately wanted to release a bad spotlight during Christmas. Okay, so which means the so-called lower points of the season are expected to be Lunar Snow week and this week and this upcoming week. Okay, so yeah, I do think that this card is not meant to be overly fantastic as well. Second leader knows that too. So yeah. Alright, so in conclusion, I do believe this is a wait and see week. This is a wait and see week, especially for myself, since I already have Selene and Block. Okay, my take is that if eventually after waiting you feel that, okay, I expect Rocket, Raccoon, and Groot to be a pretty average card. Okay, I believe that he's going to be a pretty average card. He's going to be a kind of utility card. I think that he's going to be like Copycat. Alright, there's going to be some fun. Some people are going to realize. Some people are going to be like, oh, it's so cool. I can move things around, surprise opponents, last turn changes, things like that. Okay, I do get it. It can be fun. Okay, and it might create an illusion that, oh, I've won the game because I outwitted them. But overall, at the end of the day, if someone is just able to put up a lot more power and just simply outmuscle you, it really doesn't matter. No matter where you try to move your cards, you're still going to lose. Okay, so that's why I don't think Raccoon and Groot is going to be meta defining. I don't even think that they are going to be a very strong card. Okay, I think that they could turn out to be like copycat. You know, a lot of craze about it. A lot of people are going into it. There's a lot of excitement because of how they operate. Okay, and after some time they realize, hey, actually, it's not impacting the game as much as I thought it is. Okay, and the novelty wears off, and yeah. But that is my expectation. That is my prediction. I do not know how it will eventually turn out. If that is how they turn out to be, I will be skipping this week. Alright, but if it turns out to be a little bit better and you know you are into it, alright, then go ahead, I guess. If Raccoon and Groot turns out to be pretty decent and you do not have Selene, don't let Selene be the reason why you are not picking up this week, this particular catch. Okay, because Selene, while very niche, can be devastating. Alright, she's not bad in a Goblins deck. She's not bad. And in a Goblins deck is also not bad. It's also not terrible. Alright? If you do land on block, Thanos and Arishem being such a unique card, and Thanos being Thanos, they are archetypes that will always, you know, be in the top. Alright, they'll always be talked about. They'll always be in. If the decks are terrible, they'll always be in the works. So, yeah, if you were to land on block, one day eventually you will, you know, want to play with Thanos, want to play with Arishem. So again, although Selene and Block are very niche cards, I don't think they are cards that are that niche. Okay, I don't think their archetypes are that niche to actually, you know, turn it into a either you like it or you know you hate it kind of thing. Alright, and yeah, sometimes we might argue that Selene is because the Goblins deck is such, but a lot of people have been playing Clock. Okay, and it's not difficult for you to transition from Clock to Clock Goblins because essentially the concept is the same. Alright, it has been a pretty long review. Maybe I've probably been rambling on quite a bit and a little bit slower. I'm not exactly feeling very well. But to wrap it up, long story short, I don't think Raccoon and Groot is going to be good. Conceptually, at first glance, he looks very interesting, but I think that, you know, with the current meta speeding out so much power, not having the power to change location, you know, is a huge thing. Simply being a supposedly better Jeff is not going to cut it, especially when the 3-cost slot is so competitive. But hey, if it turns out to be decent, if someone, you know, explore some movers deck, I mean especially with Elsa coming free for everyone, alright, then yeah, don't let Selene and Block be the reason why you are not getting Raccoon and Groot.